So the Warriors have some help coming. Unfortunately, it's more guards. Now, we've heard about DeAnthony Melton revving up and getting ready to make his debut, possibly on this upcoming road trip. You get the Shams tweet this morning, Seth Curry is finally joining the mix. And you heard about it in training camp. He was there in training camp, and there was something that had them at the tax apron where they had to waive him and then wait till December 1st, I believe, to bring him back onto the roster. Seth Curry is 35 years old. He's a career 43% three-point shooter. Was tops in the league last year, 45% from three in Charlotte. Now, Seth has had injury issues. You know, he's 6'1"-ish. He's a little smaller than Steph. Obviously, he's not the talent Steph is. And so I think in turn, he's had to be a more physical, rugged player over his career, and playing the two guard, not being a on-ball guard. He had to match up on bigger wings and players like that. And he takes pride defensively. He's a better defensive player than I think you would expect to go along with the sniping and the movement shooting. But the cost of that has been he tends to get chipped up. But I don't see any reason why he doesn't immediately step into Buddy Hield's role, who we'll talk about here in a minute. But he's just been a complete disaster. Put Buddy on ice, and Seth can become that movement shooter. And while he is at 35 and undersized, he's not going to make the mental errors and mistakes, the straight line drives that we've seen from Buddy Hield. And I'm sure, look, Steve is so diplomatic with the rotations and pecking orders. And I've made mention of this before. I think part of the value of Buddy Hield and his gosh golly kind of space cadet mindset is, if you bench Buddy for 2 weeks, I don't think you lose him for the season. I think he'll still come out there confidently and ready to play when he does get another opportunity. Look, man, we all have bad habits. Most of us don't want to acknowledge or discuss them. One that's not being talked enough about is vaping, right? And that's why I want to tell you about today's product, Fume. This is a flavored air device designed to help people move away from smoking and vaping. There's no nicotine, no vapor, just flavor. And when you are trying to kick that habit, to go cold turkey, you're setting yourself up for failure. Fume can help you set yourself up for success, whether it's you yourself trying to kick the habit or a loved one that you want to be able to do so. Now, they sent me a journey pack where you get a ton of flavors. It's a kit that's going to get you all ready to go. And then, of course, the most important part is the device itself, which has a really nice weighted balance to it. You got a fidgeter on the end, so it's something you can hold in your hand. You can use a topper rubber tip. And so it's really a no-brainer, again, for yourself or your loved ones. Over 700,000 people will have already added Fume to their daily routine. And I totally get why. It's simple, it's satisfying, and it comes with none of the downsides of smoking or vaping. So if you've been thinking about changing your habits, this is the perfect first step. Go to tryfume.com/athleticalchemy or scan the QR code on the screen and grab yours today. But yeah, man, I think not only does Seth add veteran leadership and maybe some communication, some better team defense, but I think that also in a way, he may help Steph stay engaged on those nights where you're like, oh, Steph don't really want to play. You know what I mean? I don't know what team you want to throw out there now that's a bottom. I mean, the Pelicans game last night, obviously Steph didn't play, but that might have been a game around Thanksgiving where Steph wasn't really interested. And maybe a little brotherly competition of Seth being out there helps him stay engaged on those nights where at 37 years old, he doesn't really want to play. But yeah, it's another guard. But I think when you look at the way our young guards in Buddy Hield are playing, it's an interesting chess piece. Now, last night's game, Kevon Looney's return to Chase Center. Chase Center crowd I get they were trying to do the loon thing, but it was mediocre at best in their response. What else is new, right? The binder, Kevon Looney. I've called him the binding agent, right? He brings it all together. And, he's not going to get a statue or anything like that, but he needs something around this Warriors run and franchise because he was such a huge part of it. And I think for Kevon, look, all these pro athletes have a confidence in themselves. That's how they become pro athletes. And they all tell themselves, well, I could do more. I could have a bigger role. I could do more. And I'm sure Looney, while he always bought into the role he was given, he thought that. And what he's finding out in New Orleans is outside of the Steph system, and as a glue guy and as a locker room presence, how much value does that hold on a team that's in shambles and is not good? So it sucks that he finds himself in that situation. But, Looney's always going to make the best of it, right? But he's not playing any more for this terrible Pelicans team than he was for Steve last year, is the point that I'm making. And he made a cameo, made a little unk mid-ranger and all that. So it was good to see Loon. Kuminga conveniently makes his return with Steph now out. And it was nice when he checked in to see him right away get to the basket, but he had a disastrous third quarter. He lets Sadiq Bey dog walk him to the front of the rim. And I've talked about this since he's come into the league. I don't understand how this hasn't been corrected. I put this just as much on the Warriors coaching staff as Kuminga. Why does he try to guard in the paint with his upper body? And so he's pushing on Sadiq Bey, who's built like a linebacker with his forearm, and Sadiq Bey just walks him to the front of the rim. He's got to use his hips. He comes down, steps out of bounds in the corner, right? And then he hits Pods in the back with an outlet pass. It turns into a 3. And then he takes a quick, tough 2, and it's like, sheesh, those are some tough minutes there for Kuminga. However, fourth quarter, the game is in, it's hanging there. It's like a 1-point game. He comes in and knocks down 2 huge threes, 2 big threes. So it was good to see him keep his confidence. But it was a rough return for Kuminga. I know he gave us 10 points and we needed all these points, but overall, do you want to blame it on timing and he hasn't played in a week? Or is he not really engaged or committed to this team because everyone knows what the writing on the wall is? It's probably a little bit of both. But Kuminga does return and scores 10 off the bench. Pods. Huge third quarter. What do you have, 12 points? I won't say huge, but a big, big third quarter. And I have, with Melton and Seth now in the fold and Pods, Moody, and Buddy's minutes perhaps declining, maybe they should. I have some advice for both Pods and Moody, just some coaching tips here, if you will, and something that I realized. Pods has to slow down his pump fake, right? That quick one like that works. There's various reasons why that would work. One, you're super twitchy and quick, and so every defender is like overreactive to every movement because everyone knows you're so quick. Or you're someone like Steph Curry, who you have such a quick and threatening shot that guys, any like slight look, glance up with your eyebrows, guys are going to react to. Pods is neither of that, right? And so I think when you look at like some of these guys that have that longer, a lot of the European players have it, a longer pump fake where they actually bring it up to their release point and it's slower and it allows the defender more time to commit. It's like, here it comes. And then you go, this ain't working for Pods. I think he needs to commit to a more realistic, longer pump fake, which can then allow the defender to like, all right, I'm going to have to step up type of thing. That being said, what did he have? 12 in that third quarter that was much needed. He hit a couple threes, got downhill, and gave us the offense that we're looking for. That's what we need. Like 12 to 15 points if he's going to play that many minutes. And then he ends up hitting the biggest shot of the game. It's a 1-point game, 4 minutes to go. And Alvarado goes under the screen. And if you notice, in the threes he made last night, he took his time. It's not that quick. You're not going to have that Steph release. I know you're there watching him do it every day. He's got to slow it down a little bit. Alvarado slides under, and he hits, to me, was the biggest shot of the game. Moses. Now, Buddy and Moses have been getting destroyed defensively, giving up straight line drives as the point of attack. And it was about a year and a half ago where Moses figured out, hey, I'm not the quickest laterally. What I got to do is dig with my hands, just, and use my length, but keep my feet moving. I've got to keep the energy in my feet. If I stand at a standstill flat-footed, I'm going to get left. And he's picked up that old habit again where he gets flat-footed, his feet aren't moving, and then he doesn't have the quickness to stay in front of the ball handlers. So I'd like to see him get his feet moving again, keep the energy in his feet. It's going to take energy. It's going to take motor. And then for Buddy, we've discussed it. Buddy just needs to sit down for now. I know he hit a couple shots last night, but man, he's got to sit down, right? And that brings me to Deadpool, GP2. Right? He's Deadpool. He is this kind of annoying personality and he does dumb shit all the time, but everyone still likes him, right? And then he doesn't really care about his body or your body, right? He's just going to sell out his body. It's as if his body parts just rejuvenate because after a nasty sprained ankle in the previous game where he was up at his apex on a rebound, went immediately to the locker room and didn't return, he's out there like it never happened. And you can make the argument that second quarter run that he went on with Jimmy was the most important minutes of the game to keep it close when it looked like we were falling apart. And he's bouncing out of the gym. And he really took advantage of just a low IQ young Pelicans defense, slipping behind the dunker spot, not getting boxed out. But he did it, right? And you saw the chemistry between him and Jimmy down the stretch because he basically closed the game too with Jimmy. He hits the dagger three, 19 points and 11 rebounds. What a big game from GP2, man, Deadpool, because that off that ankle. But what I wanted to say was him and Jimmy's chemistry. You know, Jimmy is always looking for that late check down pass, right? He'll like get in the air and he's kind of glancing around like, where can I go with the ball? And a lot of the times it's someone has to be on time for it. And then it's a difficult catch and finish because it's late and it can be hot at times. And not only does GP2 have immaculate timing with Jimmy, but he has the hands to catch and finish it. You wonder if he could build some of that chemistry with Trace Jackson, who was out Trace didn't play in Houston. And then he was out with knee soreness. How does that work? So maybe the Kuminga knee soreness is on Selby. I don't know, but Trace didn't play. But watching GP2 and Jimmy's connection last night, it makes you think, couldn't he build similar rapport with Trace? Albeit Trace, doesn't have the exact same skill set as GP2 darting in and out, but he's got good hands and he's got pretty good timing. I don't see why it couldn't work, but, they get it done. Jimmy damn near triple-double. He gets undercut. That's just who he is, right? That high pointing of the ball, I said it in today's breakdown. He's like a receiver that likes to go across the middle and he high points the ball. You're going to have those collisions. The kid, PV, he just didn't recognize the play in time. That was just a young player not recognizing what was happening in time. And before he knew it, he was under Jimmy's hip. But he toughed it out. I don't know. He probably doesn't feel well this morning, right? But he carried. We ran the offense through him, and he steadied the ship when we needed it. You look at this Thunder game coming up Tuesday before the road trip. I know y'all don't like to hear this, but don't you just punt on this one? You already don't have Steph. Why not rest Jimmy until Thursday? So that gives him Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 whole days to recover from that fall. And you just, you're going to beat the Thunder anyway. That's the way I see it. And so maybe OKC, the OKC game you use to let Kuminga have a bunch of touches and run the offense and let him get his timing up and just see what happens in that one. It's probably not going to be pretty. But yeah, man, I think we all were waiting for this Seth Curry news, and it's all kind of happening as well as Melton, who sounds like he's going to play on this road trip, and that's going to change the rotation for Buddy, GP2, Moody, and Pods. But I think the big picture thing moving forward is it's just all guards. We still need bigger bodies, and at some point, they're going to find a way to make that happen. Fingers crossed. Niners in Cleveland. I'm about to turn that on. I got a bad feeling about this one. In that cold weather with that defense, I have a feeling Mac Jones is probably going to finish this one today. We'll see how that plays out. But as always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.